Finally, the long-awaited shaping tutorial. First things first, I'm gonna go underneath the nail and make it as straight as possible. What ends up happening in my application is that I try to perfect the shape, so cleaning off the sides with my nail brush, it leads to some of the nail tip left without acrylic, and all we're doing in this step is removing the excess. I forgot to mention I am using my files. They're linked in the description box if you guys want to check them out. For the surface of the nail, I like to use my hand file to smooth it out and make sure it's all at an even level. Here I'm showing you guys where there's untouched acrylic, and what that means is that it's not even with the rest of the nail, therefore it needs a little extra filing. So we're gonna go in and target that specific area that hasn't been touched, and this is a perfect way for you to see exactly what area you need to work on. If the acrylic is untouched and it's not getting any file marks, that means that it's not leveled out. There is no right or wrong way to file. This is just what works for me and what I've learned along the way. So if your steps look different than mine, but you're still achieving the look that you're going for, stick to that. What works for me might not always work for you, and that's okay. Once my nail looks like this, I know that I'm done filing and that it's all even and leveled out. So now we're gonna get into the sidewalls. You want to make sure that you're holding your file parallel to the nail, not angled, not curved in, just straight, because however you're holding your nail file is how your shape will end up. Here you can see that the file is not laying flat against the nail. I'm showing you guys this straight line because I'm more of a visual learner and I want to make sure I'm explaining this the best that I can. So that line was the ultimate goal, and as you guys can see, it's perfectly straight now compared to the other side. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other side, and like I mentioned, you want to make sure that your file is completely straight. The last thing you want is for your square nail to look coffin, so definitely keep that in mind when you're doing this. Once we finish filing the other side, this is what it should look like. As you guys can see, perfectly straight. For the free edge, to create that C curve you want to file at an angle. You want to do this step very carefully, making sure you're keeping an eye on what you're doing. You can also flip their hand to do this step. I don't feel like I need to. I get it pretty even every time. Now we're going to repeat the same step again, and you can see on this one exactly what I mean by the excess nail tip left untouched. This line that I added is a visual guide of what I want to remove. So make sure your file is laying flat underneath. Once you get to the point where your file is meeting parallel to your client's skin, that's your sign to stop. If you continue, it may lead to you causing an indent, and it's just going to take away from your shape. You can see here once again the file isn't connecting to the acrylic on that side, and this is why I like to use my hand file. I have so much more control over what I'm doing. So we're gonna go ahead and target that side and continue filing until it's even. Now that spot is smooth, but as you can see in this little area, it's still untouched. So we're gonna continue filing on the sides and at every angle to make sure that it's smooth. Once you're done correcting the surface of the nail and everything is leveled evenly, this is what your nail should look like. Now we're gonna get into the sidewalls, and like I mentioned previously, the goal is for the file to lay flat against the nail, and as you can see, that's not what's happening here. So that's gonna be the goal for the filing of the sidewall. My files are pretty coarse, so it doesn't take much to get the shape super crispy. Definitely check them out if you haven't already. As you can see now, the file is laying completely flat against the nail, meaning our goal was reached. Now we're gonna do the same thing to the other side and keeping the same thing in mind, just making sure that it's super straight. This is my routine for every single set that I do. So that being said, I've had a lot of practice and it definitely takes time to perfect your craft. I still try every day to keep perfecting it in any way that I can, so don't get discouraged. Now it's time for the free edge, and like I said, I file at an angle. It shouldn't take much to get the shape because of the shaping to the tip prior to application, but look at how perfect the shape is. It's completely straight from both sides. Now we're on to the next finger, repeating the same exact steps once again, getting rid of all the excess nail from underneath, and here you could really see how much of that tip is left over. I slowed the filing down a little bit so you guys can actually see how it works, and as you can see, once I meet her natural nail, I stop and it's completely straight now. Now we're filing the surface, and this one was pretty even, so the filing was very minimal, and this is my goal for every nail, but you know, it doesn't happen all the time. Now you guys should know what's next. After this, we're gonna get into the sidewalls and repeating the same steps, making sure that the file is straight, making sure that we're making it as narrow as we can to give it that perfect square shape. As you can see, the file is laying really flat against the sidewall, meaning we're done with that side. So we're gonna move on to the next side and continue to do the same. I'm probably repeating myself so many times already, but I just want to give as much detail as I can and really try to explain this as best as I can. I've also been talking this whole time, but like I said, I'm more of a visual learner, so to me it's like you show me something and I'll get it down. But I know there's people that like to have stuff explained to them, and that's what I'm trying to do. So let me know if I'm helping out in any way or if I'm just confusing you guys even more. Now that the hand filing is done, we're gonna move on to our fine carbide bit. It's also gonna be linked in the description box. I got this one from Kiara Sky, but I'll also link one that you can get off of Amazon. And I'm using my drill at the speed of 11, and we're gonna clean up underneath the free edge. Nothing too crazy. We don't want to make it super thin because the shape will do out so fast, but I do recommend doing this step because it's the key to a crispy nail. By the way, I've been having to slow some videos down and even freeze them so that I can speak, because I never really noticed how fast I'd be doing this until right now, because I can't even keep up. In order to seal the cuticle, you want to be able to see a seamless transition from their natural nail into the acrylic. I don't have a specific routine as to when I stop. I just kind of keep going until it looks flushed. Now I'm going to use my fine bit all over the nail, and this isn't something that you need to do. It's definitely optional. I just like to do it because it gets rid of all these scratches perfectly, way better than any buffer I've ever had. It could be very tedious, so if you're not comfortable with it, just stick to a buffer. Now we're gonna get into the free edge once again, and like I mentioned, you don't want to make it super thin. You kind of want to keep an eye on it and make sure that it's giving you that shape that you want, but you're also not taking too much from it. Here's the thing with sealing the cuticle: if you do too much and make it super thin, it's gonna cause lifting, and if you don't seal it enough, it's gonna cause lifting too. So you have to meet it perfectly in between. Over time I've learned to perfect it, but it's something that you definitely learn along the way, so just keep going and stop when you think it looks flush. Now once again, we're gonna go over the entire nail with my fine carbide bit, and like I said, it's optional. You can use a buffer, but it doesn't get rid of the scratches like this one does. All these steps are very repetitive, but my routine doesn't change. This is what I do for every set and every single nail, and as you can see, the shape is perfect every time. I'm very big on shape. I'm sure I've said this before, so anything that has to do with shape is super important to me. So if that's one thing that I'll take pride on, is my shaping for sure. If you guys try to follow this routine, send it to me on Instagram or just tag me in it. I don't know, let me know. I'm trying to see if it helps you guys out for real, because I mean, I'm not the best at explaining stuff, but I definitely try. I hope this video was helpful to you guys and that you guys enjoyed it. I tried my best to explain everything in detail, but if there's anything I missed, you guys can go ahead and ask in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.